Good evening, everyone. How is everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Good. How
Great.
Wonderful.
about yourself?
Wonderful.
Good, doctor.
How you doing too?
Great. I'm great.
Hi,
I'm great.
Dr.
Morning, Doc.
Adu.
Happy
Hey,
Friday.
hi, Miss Vivian. How are you doing?
Good.
Great, great, great.
Yes. So nice to see all of you.
Yeah. It's been a while. Nice to see you back.
Morning, Doc.
Good morning, Jason. Jason
Good
is
morning,
joining us from
doctor.
Japan. Oh, it's morning in
Oh,
Japan. All right. I appreciate everybody's time. We are starting time now. If you can kindly put in the chat where you're joining us from, we will much appreciate it, and we will give you some shout out at the end of our presentation. So tonight we have a very interesting topic, and we are going to kick off time now. And then for everyone who is looking to renew your certification, if you have any cybersecurity certification, you know every 3 years you are supposed to renew, and there are two ways to renew. You are either going to uh, resit for the exam, or you can use webinars like this for your renewal. So you can put in the chat Team Live, hashtag Team Live, and you can use that to renew. Like if you have more of that as your continual or continuous educational points, you can use that to renew. So we are going to kick off our time now. Kindly hold on whilst I will share my screen. And hopefully everybody had a great week. And even if your week wasn't such, how you expected it is the weekend, then you have the opportunity to restart a new week next week, right? So I appreciate everybody's time. And like I always say, it's Friday night. You could have been anywhere doing a whole host of other things, but you chose to be here to share your knowledge and then also to share in the family and to grow professionally as a security professional or as aspiring security professional. And what are you going to gain today is something that is going to help you on the job. And then also individually, it is going to help you and you're adding to your body of knowledge to grow professionally. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I'm going to be the only pilot tonight. And let's get started. So tonight's topic is going to be on data privacy and data security. So what is really the difference between data privacy and data security? We are going to be discussing that tonight. And this is brought to you by Eretmis Academy. Eretmis Academy is a cybersecurity institute based out of New York. And we do a whole host of variety of cybersecurity training. But most importantly, if you are looking to begin a career in the cybersecurity space, you don't want to miss Eretmis Academy, right? And that is all that I will say. We'll get into some of the programs that we offer as we move forward. Now, about myself, the host, Dr. Emmanuel Edu. I'm a former United States Army captain. I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc. Eretmis Inc. Is different from Eretmis Academy. Eretmis Inc. is a cybersecurity consulting firm. We are a PCI, a qualified security assessor for PCI. So we do PCI audits and assessments. We are also a cybersecurity company. We do all forms of cybersecurity gigs on the government side, federal and state side as well, and on the corporate side as well. And I'm also a member of the Forbes Technology Council. I have some publications on Forbes.com. You can also check that out. And I'm the founder of Eretmis Academy and a former professor at University of Maryland Global Campus and CTC Central Texas College. And I love to spread the word, share the love in cybersecurity, and to push cybersecurity agenda, and to make sure we are empowering our own within the cybersecurity space. So at Eretmis Academy, we are CompTIA authorized partners. And what that means is that CompTIA gives us 20% discount for all vouchers that they sell for their exam. And we push that 20% to everybody within the Eretmis family. So if you are looking to sit for any CompTIA certification, you reach out to us, you send us the amount for the voucher minus the amount for the voucher for the whatever certification that you want to sit for minus the 20%, and we will purchase the voucher on your behalf and send you the voucher number. right? So that is how that works. Now, for continuous educational points, if you put Team Live in the chat, you'll be able to take a screenshot of that and use that for your continuous educational points or continual educational points to renew any certifications that you might want to sit for. So you can do that for all the certifications. So either from CompTIA or ISACA, ISE squared, all of them, they accept continuous educational points, right? And we also have a WhatsApp group. It's a big group. If you want to join this group, it's cybersecurity professional group. So everything that we do on there is measured, is just tailored to cybersecurity. And we have a lot of folks on there posting really good cybersecurity stuff that will help you on the job, or if you are beginning in the cybersecurity space. We also have a YouTube channel. What we are doing tonight is being transmitted on YouTube, so you can also go on there and watch this. So watch the live, or even after we are done, it's going to be on there for you to watch again. So kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, help it and let it grow, and spread and share the word. So for tonight, we are going to be looking at cyber news, and then we will jump into our main topic for discussion, that is data privacy and data security, right? So for cyber news, as we discuss our cyber news for tonight, you can also bring out anything that you think, any topic that you think is newsworthy in the cyberspace for this week, or maybe probably last week, since we are off for last week. Now, in the news, there is an article in the news that I think is worth for us to discuss, and that is AI and the AI input and the human input when it comes to cybersecurity, right? So currently, AI has been the buzzword. AI is all over the place. Different. I think there was a cyber chat where the cyber news, I think they were taking some companies on for just using AI as a buzzword, but the product they were selling didn't really have anything to do with AI, right? Now, within the cybersecurity space, AI has been helping, making things a bit easier and streamlining some of the, repetitive, like some of the tasks that even we're using other tools, but now AI is doing it in a better way. And AI has been integrated into many of the tools that we use now. But then at the same time, as we are using AI to do everything, attackers are also using AI to do almost everything that they're also doing. And AI itself has its flaws. So there is the AI threats is also out there. And because of AI threats, now the industry is focusing more on the genius in the equation, which is the human factor, right? I think there have been some cyber chats where people were concerned, is AI going to replace the human in the equation when it comes to cybersecurity? And that is never going to happen, right? Because who created AI? Who makes AI function as it is functioning? Human beings. So within the cybersecurity space, if you make yourself very valuable, there is no way AI is going to replace you, right? So now this article is talking about us focusing on the inputs, human inputs, when it comes to the cybersecurity battlefield, because AI is helping, but then AI cannot do it all. AI cannot do what humans will do. AI cannot really think outside what it has been given and fed with, or the training it has gone through to be able to produce the results it is producing. But humans, we are curious. We can always think outside. We can adjust. We can, adjust our fire at any point in time. So they are now looking at, putting more emphasis on human, the human factor when it comes to the cybersecurity battlefield, than just overly relying on AI, right? And there have been some study by HackerOne. HackerOne is one of the big cybersecurity firms, and the study was speaking to, relying more on the human expertise. Although not saying that we should, just overlook AI, but, we should use the AI to augment what we are doing in terms of cybersecurity professionals, rather than, the other way around, using the cybersecurity professionals' efforts to augment AI, right? So that is what this article was about. You can check it out, or you can, look that up. Now, the CEO, I think the CISO, and they also call him the chief hacking officer. I don't know for what reason. Also was making a point that kindly give me a second. So I'm still trying to mute everybody. I think somebody unmuted themselves. So he made a quote that even the most sophisticated automation cannot or can't match the ingenuity of human intelligence, right? And it's the human intelligence that brought about AI in the first place. AI didn't create itself. It's humans who created AI. So there is no way, if you want AI to replace you, AI can replace you. But if you are being human and you are bringing everything within you that makes you a genius as a human being, then AI can never replace you, right? So that is our first cyber news. This was more talking about the research that they did. Now, the next one that we are going to look at is focused more on our discussion for tonight. We are looking at, has anybody heard of Scope? It's an act in Texas. Scope. We are going to be looking at that as we move along. But anybody heard of Scope? Anyone? Any Texas folks on here? All right, so let's jump in. Now, what is Scope? So TikTok is in the news again. They've been sued by the Attorney General of Texas. And for what? Because of breach of scope. Now, scope is not scoping in PCI or scoping in auditing in the security space as we know it. Scope here is securing children online through parental empowerment. So that is the acronym SCOPE. And this is an act that has been enacted by Texas. And simply put, this act, the goal is to prevent or help protect data privacy of children, right, on all media platforms, all social media platforms. And apparently TikTok has gone contrary to this, and the Attorney General of Texas is suing them accordingly. So what happened? Well, so TikTok, and according to the scope, act that has been put in place for any social media company that wants to sell the data of their, of children, or folks under 18, they are supposed to seek parental consent before they use the data for anything. And TikTok has been using the data without seeking parental consent from folks in Texas. And the Attorney General is taking them on because they are in violation of their Scope Act, right? And this is a data privacy act that has been enacted in Texas. There are other ones in different states, but this one specifically focuses on the data of children, right? And this is something that we are going to be discussing tonight. So they are using PII from minors without permission from their parents or legal guardians. And so that is why TikTok is in court. Now, TikTok has not really responded to this yet. So we are waiting to see, what they are going to come up with. Now, remember, TikTok was also in the news. They have a deadline where they have to either sell the company to an American partner or, be banned in the United States. So that is also still in the air. We're waiting to see how that is going to go. But for now, TikTok has not responded to this particular suit. So we are waiting to see what is going to also happen then. So any questions on this scope as a data privacy act in Texas, and then also on the first item that we looked at? And if you have any contributions to any of these, we can allow 2 or 3 folks, and then we move on before we jump into our interesting topic for tonight, which is going to be data privacy and data security. They are going to head. We're going to see who is going to win tonight. So any questions on this before we move on?
How long has the act been put in place?
How long has which act?
The law, the Scope Act, how long has it been put in place?
I think, but I don't know for sure. You can look that up. I'm not sure how long they've had that act in place, but probably if they caught up with TikTok, it means probably it has been in longer than when TikTok came up, right? So, but that one you can easily find out. So I'm not really sure when that act was enacted. All right, so we're going to jump in. So before we jump into our main topic for tonight, if you are looking to jump into cybersecurity, switch into a cybersecurity career, you can, look into our cybersecurity entry-level course. This is the course that is going to take you from where you are with or without IT background, cybersecurity background, to where you can start working as a cybersecurity professional. It comes with the training itself, taking you through all the major areas of cybersecurity, and then we're moving you into tools, the use of tools, exposing you to most of the tools that we use in the security space, the popular ones. And then once you're done working with the tools, having a very solid background going through the tools, we move you into our GRC internship and workshop, where you're actually going to be working on real-world security projects for 2 of our sister companies. And your experience in the cybersecurity space starts from there, right? And we are going to also look at the GRC internship as a standalone course, because some folks will come with some training already, so they can just jump into that. But for anyone who is looking to start a good career in cybersecurity and you want a very solid foundation, whereby you are not going to be on the job and, wondering why you are there and whether you can do your job or not, then look into a cybersecurity entry-level course. And from the entry-level, you can jump into our PCI course. Our PCI course, PCI is a specialty area in cybersecurity, and we have most folks on here who have gone through PCI. Some are working as PCI compliance managers in different companies, and PCI is arguably the most lucrative niche in cybersecurity. And for us as a school, we can say that for a fact, because our highest paying student is from PCI, right? So we can say that on authority. Now, if you are looking to specialize in any area of cybersecurity, PCI or payment security compliance is one area that will make you a boss wherever you find yourself, right? So look into enrolling in that. The next class is going to start in December. And for folks who have gone through some training elsewhere, you've done some GRC here and there, you've done some self-study, but you are lacking the real-world hands-on experience that employers are looking for, then our cybersecurity GRC internship, the next cohort is starting on the 23rd of November. This is what you need to be able to bridge the gap between knowledge and the actual doing of cybersecurity projects. And that is what employers are looking for, right? So when you go through this, it's very intense. You do 10 major projects. You're going to be doing audits. You're going to be doing risk assessment, third-party risk assessment, incident response, awareness training, governance, working on policies, SOPs, and others. There's a lot that you're going to go through, and it is going to shape you and really bring everything together for it to make sense, right? Because knowing is one thing, doing is a different thing. If you go to interviews and you've not really done something, you can't speak to it. You can talk around in circles, but it's going to be very obvious you've not done it. And even if they like you and they give you the job, you can't talk your way on the job. You have to actually do the job, right? So this is what is going to help and set you apart. For interns who go through this, there is none who are, who will finish this and then on the job, they come back running for help because they don't know what to do. There is no single person. And, if anybody is here who's gone through this and is working and is struggling, they can put it out for everybody to hear, because there's none. The type of training you're going to go through, even folks who've been in the industry for years, they've not had the opportunity to work on all these projects that you're going to be working on, right? So if you are looking to really get your hands dirty, get into our GRC internship program. Now, our WhatsApp group, you can also join the WhatsApp group and join us on YouTube as well. And with that, we are going to jump into data protection. So we were looking at our main topic for tonight is data privacy versus data security, right? Which is which. Now we can address data privacy and data security without looking at data protection in general. And when we talk about data protection, we cannot tackle data protection without knowing what data we are talking about or referring to, right? So what is data in the lens of cybersecurity? Now, data, can mean so many other things in academia, on the corporate side, but in cybersecurity specifically, in the context of cybersecurity, because when we look at data, we have to look at it in context. In the context of cybersecurity, data refers to information that needs to be protected, right? So everything that we do in cybersecurity is our main goal is to protect data. Now, everything else aside that is a byproduct of us protecting data. We cannot protect data if we are not protecting the systems that are processing the data or that the data is being stored on, right? The devices and where the devices are located has to be protected as well. And, people who are working with the data, we have to also protect them as well. So processes that are being used to handle data has to be. So when we look at processes, people, and technology, the main goal is protecting data, and people who, are working with these data, processes that are being used to run these data, technology that is being used to run these data is what we are looking at in terms of protection, right? So data, information that needs to be protected. Now we are going to be looking at the different types of data when in the context of cybersecurity, right? So the data we are referring to here includes sensitive information. It can be personal, it can be intellectual property, it can be even non-sensitive information. Kindly mute yourself. I'm not sure. Okay. So everybody has been muted. I kindly make sure you're not unmuting yourself, right? Maybe if you are thinking of muting yourself, and you mute yourself, right? So now let's jump in. So the data can be sensitive information, even non-sensitive, still has to be protected. It can be intellectual property of a company. It can be critical business data as well, right? And in cybersecurity, data is considered to be an asset. That is why we go through all the trouble and problems to protect the data, right? So data is an asset, which if compromised or if it gets in the hands of the wrong people, it can cause financial loss, reputational harm to the company, legal issues, big one, national security issues, also another really big one, right? So data is a serious something when it comes to cybersecurity, right? We don't play with data. Now let's look at the types of data in cybersecurity. There are different types of data. We are going to look at all of them. So the first one is what we call personally identifiable information. That is PII. Most folks who are in the security space, or if you are trying to get in now, this is one of the very first things you are going to learn when it comes to data. So PII, it includes information that is used to identify you, such as your name, your address, social security numbers, your biometric data. All that is considered to be your PII. So personally identifiable information. Now, the next one, and PII, protection of PII is critical because somebody can use your PII to assume to, do identity theft. They can use that to assume your identity, right? And so to ensure compliance with data privacy laws, the different ones that are out there, you have to make sure as a company, you are protecting PII that you come in contact with from your customers. Now, the next type of data in cybersecurity is what we call PHI, so protected health information, right? And some school of thought will also say personal health information, but protected health information. So when you really look at it, PHI is a subset of PII, right? But that is also another form of data, so we can have it as a standalone. So this is data about your health information. So individual health status, your treatment, your medical records, all of that, put together is your PHI, right? So this also has to be protected. And in the United States, is law. Any companies that are working within the health industry, you can be an insurance company, you can be a hospital, you can be, if you are playing within the health industry, you have to stay in compliance with HIPAA, right? And staying in compliance with HIPAA simply means you are putting in place or following the framework of HIPAA to protect PHI. Now, the next type of data is financial data. And financial data, including your payment card information, your credit card, debit card information, bank account numbers, transaction details or transactional details, and other financial records. That is your financial data. And this, if it gets in the hands of the wrong people, we all know how that is going to, go, right? That is not going to be good. So we have to protect financial data as well. And one of the frameworks that is used to do this is PCI DSS, right? And that is the training that I was talking about before we got here. So let's jump into other types of data that we have. The next one is intellectual property, So intellectual property is proprietary information like your trade secrets, research, product design, and this is predominantly for companies. It can even also be for individuals if you are designing or producing or you have any trade secrets. Now, we have to protect IP, that is your intellectual property, because that is what gives your company its competitive advantage. And protecting it can also help us prevent corporate espionage. So companies, they are in business because of their intellectual property. So if that is compromised, then they are going to probably go out of business, or they are not going to be as competitive anymore. Now, the next type of data is operational data. Now, this is data that we use in our day-to-day operations. It can be email, communications, logs from our system configuration. All these are operational data, right? And we also have to ensure this. We also have to protect this type of data because it helps us to conduct business on day-to-day basis. Now, the next type of data, credentials and access data. Now, this is data that we use for authentication and authorization. So your username, your password, cryptographic keys, tokens that are used for authentication and authorization. This is the type of data that we refer to as your credential or your access credential and access data, right? Now, next in the list, we are going to look at your business and strategic data. Now, this is your strategic plan, confidential report, confidential business report, your market analysis that you are going to have also as well. Now, this type of data, it ties into kind of your intellectual property and your operational data. If this is also compromised, it takes away the competitive advantage that your company will have in the market that they are in. So now, knowing all these type of data, when we talk about data protection, I think you are going to have a better understanding of what are we protecting in the first place, right? So at Eretmis, we like to break things down, right? So we are going to move into our data protection, part. Now we know what type of data we are protecting, and when we say data, we know exactly what we are talking about. So we are looking at some historical context and evolution of data protection up to this point. And like I spoke about earlier, why are we looking at data protection? I thought we were about to discuss data security and data privacy. So why data protection? You are going to get a bigger picture as we are moving along, right? So hang on tight. We are looking at some historical context of how we got here. So in the early days of cybersecurity, in the 60s, 70s, security mainly evolved around the protection of critical infrastructure in the government side and large corporations. Now these were like computers and data systems were limited to institutions. There were like computers were put in like a whole room, just took one computer that had a processing speed of I'm not even sure how low that was, right? But computers were not common for an individual to even have a computer at that time. So now as we are developing in terms of technology and moving forward, things also change, and we are going to look at all that as we are moving along. So early practice was to put in place access control, firewalls, physical security, and others to prevent data leaks, and then also breaches from within. Our focus was from within. Now, the rise of personal computers changed the whole game, right? In the 80s and 90s, where computers were not, in big rooms, were able to have smaller computers, and people started having their own computers at home. That really started changing the whole dynamics when it came to data and the protection of data, right? Now people have computers in their home, and businesses had, more computers. So now data security expanded in scope. It was not, limited as it was in the 60s and 70s. So now businesses were not only focused on protecting their own data, but they are also focused on protecting data from their customers and their financial data as well, right? And during this time was when viruses and malware became, became like prominent threats that also emerged in there. Right. All right. So kindly give me a second. All right. So as we are moving along the timelines, when we hit the 90s and the 2000s, internet became big. There was that big boom in the technology space where now everybody's online. Internet, came up, and we had this big network that everybody was on. Everybody's doing everything and anything on there. And even today, it's even worse, right? With social media and everybody's just online. Even with your watch, with your scale, with your fridge at home, right? Now we have smart everything. Even your chairs, some chairs are smart chairs, right? So now data is being shared all over the place. That also pushes data protection to a whole different level, right? So if it was bad in the 90s and 2000s, if it was bad in the 80s and the 90s, now in the 90s and 2000s and in 2010 coming up 2020, now it is worse because of technological advancement, and then also the use of the internet. And we are getting smarter and smarter, and that also makes it more difficult to protect data because data is everywhere, right? So now we have some historical context on how data protection has gone through, and how data, exposing our data has also risen due to advancement in technology. Now we are going to look at the role of data in cybersecurity, right? All these different types of data that we looked at. What is the role of data in cybersecurity? So, funny enough, in cybersecurity, we are protecting data, but we also need data to protect the data we are protecting. And you are going to get that here shortly. So we are protecting data, but we need data to protect data. And we are looking at, different types of data. So the data that we are protecting can be any of the type of data that we looked at: PII, PHI, IP, name it. Now, we cannot protect that type of data if we don't, one, have data about technology that we have to use. Even for the technology that we are using, the logs that we are collecting, that is also data, right? Now, we are using that data to protect our data in our systems. So hopefully everybody gets that piece now. So although we are protecting data, data also play a very key role in the protection of data. So data serves as the basics for identifying patterns. So like your log data, identifying patterns, monitoring for unusual activities, and making informed decisions within the security space, right? So hopefully nobody gets confused about using data to protect data, right? The data that we are using to protect our main data. So probably that will make it a bit clearer. Let's say we want to protect our PHI, so your protected health information. Now we cannot do that if we are not collecting logs on how our systems are working, who is entering our network, who is leaving our network, what they are doing on our network. That type of data that we are collecting is what will help us to really protect and monitor that nobody is messing with our PHI. So that is what we are driving at. So the role of data in cybersecurity is what I'm explaining. So we have data from different systems, data from different processes and activities that we do in the security space that helps us to protect other types of data, right? And even for that specific data, that data will still help us to protect that same data. For example, your logs, we have to, if we don't protect your logs and somebody is able to get their hands on your log information, they can make some changes and edits to it. Now, attackers, when they get onto your network, as they are moving, they want to clean their tracks. So if they get onto your logs, they're able to, have access to your logs. They are going to change the timeline and the timestamps on there. So you wouldn't be able to identify that somebody was logging on at 3 a.m. when everybody nobody is working at that time of the day in your company, right? So if they change the time to, maybe 2 p.m., you wouldn't be able to see. If you look at the pattern, you wouldn't be able to identify any anomalies or anything unusual. So we also have to protect our log data, although the log data is still helping us to protect our whole entire infrastructure, right? So the data also helps us with like the data that we are collecting and the data that I was talking about helps with threat detection and analysis, incident response, and data loss prevention, compliance, and reporting, risk assessment and management as well, and encryption, data integrity. So for data protection, what are the main components and what do we really do? Like, what is the main thing that we do when it comes to data protection? We do three main things, right? All that we are doing is we are helping to protect confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data. Now, I have a question for $5. Whoever gets this, and I know there are a lot of folks who will get this. When we talk about data in the security space, at every point in time, there are three things or three, like data will be in either of the three main forms that data will be in. So it can be data at something or data doing something or data, right? Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, is it that data will that be at rest, in process, in transit,
Solid.
or in process that's being used? Yeah.
Okay, yes. So that is right on the money. Emmanuel gets $5. Right. Okay, so yes, at every point in time, the data that we are using, we are either transmitting it from point A to point B, right? Or it is being stored, or we are processing the data. So data will be in three different, it will be in either of the three, right? We cannot have data in two of the three that we just spoke about. So it is either being transmitted from point A to point B, or it is being used. So it is being processed, or it is in storage. So mostly we will say data is either in transit. It is so in transit means it's moving from point A to point B. It is at rest. So data at rest means the data is being stored, right? And the last one, data is in use. So it is being processed. So these are the three main stages that the data will be in at any point in time. And that applies to all the types of data that we look at, right? Now, so in security, when you are planning, when it comes to data, how to protect your whole entire infrastructure, and your data is the ultimate. You look at the protection from these three different angles, right? So how do you protect data when it's in transit? How do you protect data when it is in use? How do you protect it when it is at rest, right? So with that, we are going to jump into the components of data protection. Thank you, Emmanuel, for that one. I think like Mike also had his hand up, but I know he was going to get that one. So when it comes to data protection, we are going to first look at data collection and consent, right? This is plays a key role in data protection. And we are going to, when we start actually looking at data privacy and data security, we are going to also see where data privacy and data security fit when it comes to data protection, right? So when it comes to data protection, first off, how we collect the data and getting the consent of the owners of the data is very key, because that also comes with some compliance issues that your company might run into trouble if they don't, follow this to the T. So before you collect the data, your organization should obtain consent and provide transparency about the purpose of the data that is being collected. What is the data being used for? Ensuring that the individuals whose data we are collecting, they understand and they know exactly how and where the data is going to be used, right? Now, when it comes to data storage and encryption, so this is data at rest. The data should be securely stored, right? And what do we mean by securely stored? we should store it with what PCI will normally call strong cryptography. So whatever way that your company deems it fit for you to securely store your data, that is what you're going to do. The simple way of storing data securely is to encrypt the data, right? Encrypt it with the highest level of encryption algorithm that is out there, right? So if you are storing any type of data, it should be stored securely. Now, if you are transmitting data, it should also be transmitted securely, right? So if your data is in transit, it should be transmitted securely. Now, if you go to any website, you will see in the URL, you see a little padlock, sometimes it's green, showing that the website is secured. All that is telling you is that the data that is being transmitted to you and from the company's website and to you, it is being encrypted as it is in transit, right? So it is running on a protocol called HTTPS. That is on port 443. If it is not secured, if it is being transmitted with no protection, with no encryption, it will be on ports. Anybody knows that port that is going to be on, or the protocol?
80.
About 80.
Yes, port 80, right? And it will be running on HTTP, not HTTPS, right? So that is just to show you data in transit. We secure it with TLS. It used to be SSL, but it's TLS now. We should desist from using SSL. In the industry, we still, sometimes when they say SSL, they are referring to TLS. They kind of use it, interchange it. But early, and we should not use early versions of TLS. I think some cyber chats ago, we talked about that. Maybe some cyber chats, we were going to address some cryptographic aspects of what we do in security. Right. Now, with that, we are going to move to data control and authentication. So as part of your data protection, we have to make sure only people who need to have access to our data will have access to our data. And even with that, we still have to go a step further and put in place what we call, anybody knows what I'm about to talk about. So when it comes to access control and authentication, aside restricting people or aside enforcing confidentiality, what else do you think should be implemented? It is a concept, right? That has to do with privilege. A concept that has to do with privilege.
Principle of least privilege.
Least privilege.
Least privilege.
Yes, the principle of least privilege. So what does that principle mean? Anybody wants to give it a shot? Principle of least privilege. What does it mean?
Yeah.
Mike, go ahead. Yeah, please raise your virtual hand. That way we are not talking over each other. Go ahead, Mike.
So the principle of least privilege is only providing access to people based on the responsibilities and not more. So that is to say only on the basis of need to know. So we only give them the access that they need, just enough to do their work and not more than that.
Okay, yes, right on the money. Thank you. So enforcing access control means that we also have to enforce principle of least privilege, because we cannot try and prevent people from having access to our data. But then for folks within the organization, we just give them any level of access that we want, right? So maybe Mike is working in finance. He doesn't need information in maybe HR to do anything. But because we've granted him access to almost everything within the organization, now he can move around and access any type of data. And that is not good, because if he becomes a disgruntled employee, then he can do so many, bad stuff, right? So we give you just enough permissions on our network to be able to do what you have to do for work, nothing more, nothing less. So that is principle of least privilege. So when it comes to access control, we are not only protecting ourselves from, people who do not have to have, who are not required to have access to our data, whether within the organization or from the outside, but we are also implementing some of these, concepts to make sure that, we are well secured. Now, when it comes to access itself, we should also make sure we are using more than one factor of authentication, right? We have factors of authentication. If you combine at least 3 of these factors of authentication, then we get what we call multi-factor authentication, right? So if you see MFA around a lot, don't just, so in security, you have to develop that, attitude of not just taking things for what they are. If you say it, dig more into it, get more understanding of it, that will help you in your overall understanding of security. So for access control and authentication, we have to make sure we are implementing multi-factor authentication on our systems, and we have to make sure we are practicing principle of least privilege. And we are going to move to the next one, which is also very, very important. That will save us a lot of headache within the organization. It's called data minimization, right? So data minimization simply means that we are going to store just enough for what we need to use within the organization, right? So this also comes with your data retention and disposal policy within the organization. So we are not just going to store data simply because we just want to store data with no business justification or with no need for it. Because the more data you store, what are you doing in terms of attack surface? If you store more data, what are you doing in terms of attack surface? Emmanuel, do you want to answer that?
You're
I want to ask a
increasing
question. I want to ask a
surface.
question.
Okay, kindly raise your virtual hand if you want to give. Okay, go ahead, Emmanuel, and
Yeah,
maybe somebody
please.
will answer.
Yeah, concerning the multi-factor authentication, some time ago, I saw a publication where NIST was trying to discontinue the use of multi-factor authentication. So I wouldn't really know the basis for that. That was no longer necessary. They were only emphasizing the length of your password. That your password could be lengthy, then there may not be need for multi-factor authentication again. I wouldn't know the rationale behind that.
I mean, unless we see that article, I cannot really speak to that, because if you are just focusing on password is just one factor of authentication. So I'm not really sure what that was about, or so probably we can. I mean, if you have that publication, you can push it out on the WhatsApp group, and we can all
I actually saw
discuss
it
it.
on WhatsApp. It was a draft. It was a draft, the exposure draft. I actually saw it on the WhatsApp group.
Okay, so you can repost it, but we cannot move away from multi-factor authentication just to use longer password, because that's still wouldn't cut it, right? That is still one factor of authentication. You can use 100 characters for your password. It is still one factor of authentication, and is not secured as using a multi-factor authentication, right? So anybody wants to answer that question? The more data we store, what are we doing to our attack surface?
We increase the attack surface.
Why is that?
Because the more data we store and we don't need it, the data become redundant, and possibly we may not secure it well, and attackers may see it as vulnerable because we may not be updating the password and security around that particular data.
Okay, so I also look at it this way: the more data you store, or the more things you have on your network, look at it like your house, right? The more data you store, it means you are creating more doors and more windows on your house. So if your house had just one main front door, now as you are piling more data, what you are doing in literal sense is like you are creating more doors, right? So you have like 7 different doors in front of your house, some on the side, some in front. So what you are doing is, now attackers have 7 different ways of getting getting inside your house. As to if you had just one door, and that is easy to protect, right? But now you have a couple of them. So if you have 100 doors and you have to close all of them at night before you go to bed, chances of you skipping one or thinking you've closed that, or you didn't open that for 3 days, so it's closed, and probably your son or your daughter or your significant other went through that door and didn't lock it well, that chance is a bit higher, right, than if you had just one door. So as you are piling on data, that you might not necessarily need, if you need it, yes, more power to you, but you still have to put in place measures to make sure you are protecting it well. But the more data you have, it means the more you have to do in terms of protection. And that also means the more risky you are in missing a step or two for attacker to be able to take advantage of that. So that is what, for data protection, one of the key things is don't store what you don't need. That is the biggest, or like the most cost-effective way of protecting data. Don't store what you don't need, right? Because why store it? And then you have to go through all these hoops of putting in place different strategies to protect that data. And protecting data is costly. Two, storing data itself is not cheap. It's costly. So why store data that you don't need? And that leads us into data retention and disposal. So for data retention and disposal, every company is supposed to have a policy on data retention and securely disposing of your data. And what do we mean by securely disposing of your data? What is secure disposal of data? Raise your virtual hand if you want to give this a shot. How do we securely dispose of data? Ekini Michuku, please go ahead. If I got your name wrong, kindly let me know how that is pronounced.
It's Ekanam.
Ekanam.
Yeah.
Okay. Ekanam, please go ahead. How do you securely dispose of data?
I'll guess by saying probably by like making sure it's deleted and also removed from archive as well to make sure that it cannot be gotten back.
Okay, so if I delete a folder on my laptop, is it really deleted?
No, you
And
have
Yes, kindly go ahead.
I mean, you might have to go and check the trash to get rid of.
Okay, if I delete it from the trash, is it really deleted now?
No.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
No, physical
So-
discretion.
Okay, so this is what happens if you delete data on you hit delete or shift delete, or you delete and you go to your trash and you delete it from there. Anything that we delete from our hard drive, we can easily recover it. Right. So if you throw your hard drive or your any storage device, if you throw it away and you just deleted stuff on it, it is still on there. So when you delete it, all that it does is it just moves it off and creates space for you to store more stuff. So it has really not been deleted. You can easily recover it. So that is not secure deletion. For you to securely delete, you go beyond just hitting delete or go into your trash to delete it. So if we have to securely dispose of data on your hard drive, we have to go a stream. Sometimes we are either physically destroying the hard drive, that way nobody can put it or piece it back together, or we are doing a whole host of other things, right? So your company will kind of spell it out how you are going to securely dispose of data. And this is on company basis, and there is no right or wrong answer on how you are going to dispose data, right? And even the media that contains the data, how you are going to dispose of it, right? So if data that is no longer needed, you are going to dispose of it securely. And once you do that, you are reducing the risk of exposure, and you are reducing your attack surface if you are disposing of data that you don't need to have. Now, data retention will spell out how long you're supposed to hold on to the type of data before you have to delete it or get rid of it, right? Different frameworks, they have different data retention obligations for companies. So for your company, their data retention and disposal policy is not going to be in a vacuum. It is going to be in the context of whatever framework that they have to stay in compliance with, right? If they have no specific framework to stay in compliance with, then they can just borrow from any of the frameworks as best practice to use, right? Now we move into incident response as part of your data protection. Incident response and recovery. This forms a very big part of what we do for data protection. But everything incident response, although the action of incident response is after the fact, so after there's been a breach, you do incident response, but then the planning part of incident response, which should be the first step before an incident happens, the planning step, the first step in incident response is preparation and planning before you move into identify and detect and all that. So identify and detect, you start with those when an incident or something on those lines have occurred, right? But before anything occurs with the planning stage, your goal is to help not to let the incident happen in the first place, right? So incident response and recovery plays a key role when it comes to data protection as well. Everybody's going to get breached. It's a matter of when, right? Every single company will get breached at a point in time. It's a matter of when. So if you have a strong incident response program in place, then and recovery in place, then when you get breached, because you have such a good system, oiled system in place, the impact of the breach is not going to be that felt. Like it is not going to be felt that much, right? And if you have everything right in place, you've backed up your data, you have everything ready in terms of your disaster recovery plan, then the impact is really not going to be that much. But if you have nothing in place for incident response, or you are pretending as a company you have something in place for incident response, then that is where you are going to be in the news for weeks, and you're still figuring out what to do, right? Now, the next one is monitoring and auditing. So for everything that we do in security, overall, once everything has been said and done, we do monitoring to make sure everything is, working as it is supposed to. And we do auditing as well to make sure also the effectiveness of the measures we put in place is working as it's supposed to. So regular monitoring and auditing to help us ensure that we are identifying any vulnerabilities and we are doing everything right. And the measures that we put in place, they are also working as they're supposed to, right? Now, with that, we are going to look at some key data protection measures in cybersecurity. And with this is just one slider. So access control, encryption, data masking, tokenization, anomaly detection and monitoring, and data minimization, backup and recovery. That is everything that we looked at in a summary, right? So with this, we are going to look at the importance of data, in cybersecurity. We cannot stress on that enough. I think everything that we've looked through or gone through up to this point speaks to that, right? So the core of cybersecurity, what we do is data, to protect data, to minimize the risks of data compromise and everything that comes with it. And we've went through enough for you to even, be able to come up with the importance of data in the cybersecurity space. So we are going to jump into our, the fight between data privacy and data security, which is going to be fun. Now, with that background set, the data protection background set already, it's very easy for us to, now look at data privacy and data security. But before we do, if you are looking to switch into cybersecurity, change careers, whether you are in IT already or no IT background, our cybersecurity entry-level course is the program that is going to get you there, making 6 figures working from home, like most of the folks on here. And for anyone already in cybersecurity looking to specialize, you can jump into our PCI DSS program. This is the most lucrative niche within the cybersecurity space. And we know that for a fact because our highest paying students, they have specialized in PCI DSS. And then also for folks looking to get their hands dirty working on real world security projects, our cybersecurity GRC internship and workshop program is what is going to get you the job and then also help you to function effectively on the job and be the cybersecurity professional, making your 6 figures, living the life with a peace of mind that you need because you don't want to be a walking heart attack, whereby you are on the job, you've got a job, everybody is cheering for you. But then for you, when you wake up, you're having nightmares because you don't want to go to work. You don't know what is going to happen because you don't know what you are going to do. Or you don't know who's going to find out that you don't know your stuff. Get into the internship program. This is going to help you gain the confidence, not just confidence in vain, but actually working on projects for real world companies. And you can talk these projects, you can work on these projects, and during interviews, you have a background in security that you're going to speak about. And on the job, you can also function effectively, right? And you can join our WhatsApp group for any cybersecurity updates and our YouTube channel as well. Now we are going to move into our data privacy versus data security. So who is who, right? Now we've looked at data protection, so it's easy for us to now jump into data privacy and data security. So how did data privacy and data security come about? With the digital landscape evolving and the background that we looked at when we are looking at data protection, gradually, as a field, data protection as a field, it has evolved into where we have two specific subfields within the data protection area. So these two fields are the data privacy and data security. So data privacy and data security, they are addressing different aspects of our data protection activities that we are doing, right? And they all complement each other, but we are going to look at exactly what each one is about. So if you look at this diagram that we have on here, data protection is on the top. Data protection, subset of data protection is data privacy and data security. So now we are going to jump into exactly where every one of these is going to fit. So if you look at our Venn diagram here, data protection is the bigger circle, data security is the other circle that is intersecting your data privacy, and everything in here we are going to revisit as we move along, right? So hang on tight. We are going to jump in and first look at data privacy. So for data privacy, what is data privacy and what is it about? How has it evolved over the years? So data privacy, we are looking at protecting individual rights over personal data. Keyword here when it comes to data privacy is protecting individual rights, or keywords or key phrase. Data privacy is all about individual rights. Or you can also look at it this way. Data privacy is about the owner of the data's rights, right? And how did this come about? You know, with technological advancement and the internet and all that, we have all these social media companies and other, traditional companies collecting all sort of data from us. And when Facebook started, if you didn't know the concepts that they were pushing, Facebook was free. Most social media companies are free. Like most social media platforms are free. How do you think they make their money? Before, they were not doing advertisements on their platforms, right? When they started, you can just create an account. Your friend will send you hi. But what do you think? How were they making money, right? Before they started making ads, how were they making money? They were selling your data and my data to companies. That was how they were making money. Because guess what? When they were able to see what you like, how you behave, they can tell a lot from what you do on social media. So all that data that they were collecting, they will sell that data to all these big companies to make money. And they didn't bring you or bring me any of that money. They were keeping all that money, right? And they were selling our data without our consent. Even traditionally, before even social media became a thing, still there were companies who were selling our data, right? You'll be there aside the call books, or like the telephone booklets, big booklets that they had, like the yellow books that they had that people can just go through and pick your number and start calling you. There are other places that you go, if you fill forms and stuff, they sell that data. So people can randomly call you and, hey, is this John? I'm from here trying to sell you something. Now with social media, it's even worse. So all these social media companies, they are selling your data. Now they don't, when you are enrolling, they have this long, agreement that nobody reads. And if you don't click, yes, I agree, they're not going to let you have an account. Nobody reads that. You just click yes, and they hide behind that and they use that to, sell your data. Now, data privacy came out of that, right? Government agencies and some industry players were pushing, hey, how do we protect the consumer, right? How do you protect ourselves from all these big companies that are making money of us? So that is how data privacy came about. So the protection of the rights of your personal data. So the focus is on ownership and control. Now, data privacy, it has emerged over the years, and we need to protect our personal information, especially as companies become big and they are collecting all these amount of can you guess the number of users on all these social platforms, right? So the amount of money is not even about the money, but if you want to sell my data, I think I have to know about it. Or if I'm signing up to your platform, I have to know what you're going to do with my data, right? So the protection of the owner of that data is the main focus of data privacy. Now, individuals they are supposed to, they are supposed to get our consent before they do anything with our data, right? So they were sharing this data without the consent of the owners of the data. So that led to the push for policies and regulations to give people control, to give the control back to people on how to protect themselves and how to protect their data. So key regulations, as this was being pushed, around 2000 was where we started having some big shifts in the data privacy space around the world. And Europe took the lead. In 1995, they came up with the Data Protection Directive, which later, came to be the GDPR that we know today. So they improved on that and came up with GDPR in 2018, and that is what is in use today. So GDPR is a framework that helps that simply speak to how users are going to protect themselves. Users can call a company and say, hey, delete all my data, and they have to comply, right? And then California also followed suit with their CCPA in the United States. Now, in the United States, there is no single data privacy law, like no federal private data privacy law for the nation. All the ones that are out there is by states, and California is the very first state that started this, right? They started it, they were way ahead of everybody. But in the United States, up to date, 2024, there is no one data privacy for the whole entire United States, right? Like how they have HIPAA, we don't have anything for data privacy specifically. Like how Europe has GDPR, United States has none. It's the states, different states that are coming up with their own. And I think most states like New York, Texas, Virginia, now they all have their own data privacy laws, following what California did, or Data Privacy Act. Now, for data privacy, the focus, like I said, protecting personal and sensitive information, ensuring individuals have control over their own data that is collected and how it's used, how it's shared, right? The goal is to establish transparency and, give consent for, owners to give consent, and also to respect the user's rights to control their own data. Proud to data privacy becoming big now. You didn't have any control. When you gave them the information, they didn't tell you what they are going to do with it. There was no transparency, right? So examples are what we just looked at, the different laws that have been enacted when it comes to data privacy. Now we are going to move into data security. So what is the main focus of data security? Now we've looked at the main focus of data privacy. For data security, the focus is not on the owner of the data. The focus is on defending the data against threats, right? Data privacy, the focus is on giving the owner transparency, respect, seeking the owner's consent. For data security, the main focus is on protecting the data against threats that might be out there. So the focus is on defensive measures that we are putting in place. So whilst the rights and transparency for the owner of the data is great, we also have to make sure we are putting in place measures to protect that data. Because if, as a company, we are transparent, we follow the data privacy laws, but then we are not protecting the data, we are still going to get in trouble. So data security the focus is on protecting the data from unauthorized access and attacks. So the focus intensified as cyber attacks also have intensified and they've become more sophisticated. We also have to make sure we are putting in place more measures or stringent measures, innovative measures to help protect the data that we are handling as a company or even on an individual basis. So now data security has gone beyond just using firewalls and antivirus solutions. Now we have encryption, different access control measures, intrusion detection and prevention systems, network monitoring tools, SIM tools, different types of AI tools that we are using, and responding to this is all, in response to increasing threats. And some of the big, big breaches in the corporate side also kind of pushed the data security agenda to a whole different level. So breaches like the one that happened to Target, Equifax, Facebook, and the rest, they all now really put everybody on their toes when it came to data security, right? And also these companies and the big companies, once they get hit with these type of breaches, they lose a lot of money, right? From all different angles. So they are getting sued by customers, they are getting fined by different government institutions, and so forth and so on. So that also kind of pushed them to invest more in such fields and also seek more advice, and then also seek more security professionals to help them protect their data, right? So data security, the focus, we have to get the main focus. The main focus is on the protection of the data. And reason why it has come all the way to this point is because attackers are getting smarter and smarter and more innovative. So we also have to, step up our game. So strategies that we use for security strategies that we use have gone beyond just using some of the traditional, solutions like firewalls and antiviruses. And now we are using different layers of defense to help us with our data security, right? So summary of data security, the main focus is on protecting data from unauthorized access, breaches, and malicious users or malicious attackers. Now, the goal is to protect confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data. Example of how we do this, encryption, making sure for all the three stages that the data is going to be in: data in transit, data at rest, data in use. We are, encrypting our data as we are transmitting, as we are storing it. Data that is in use, we cannot really encrypt that data because then we cannot use it. But we have to also make sure we are putting in place other controls in place. So even though we are using the data, we are using it in a safe environment that attackers cannot easily get their hands on, right? And now with the advancement of technology and AI and everything else, we are able to do data security better than we used to. But then attackers are also, guess what, using the same technology and AI to help breach our network and our systems. So with that, we are going to look at the main key differences between the two. I think everybody, probably by now, you get the main difference between the two. So data privacy is about who should have access to your data and under what conditions, focusing on, the individual rights. Now, data security, on the other hand, is about the protection of the data from unauthorized access with a focus on technical measures and controls, right? So in short, data privacy ensures that data that is collected is used responsibly by the companies collecting them or individuals collecting that data, and making sure there's transparency. On the other hand, data security ensures that data is guarded well from unauthorized access and threats. So for companies who are collecting all types of data from their customers, they are responsible for data privacy and responsible for data security at the same time, right? So, they have two things that they have to do when it comes to data protection: privacy and security. So as, we are advancing and we are developing as people, as we are getting smarter and smarter, when we looked at some of the techniques to help with data protection, one of the key ones that stood out was data minimization. So we don't pile up data that we don't need, because you are doing data privacy, that is a whole field on its own. Data security, that is a whole beast on its own as well. So now getting back to the diagram that we looked at earlier, data protection as a bigger circle under which we have data security, data privacy. Now for data security, we are looking at access control, encryption, incident response, network security, right? Now for data privacy, consent, rights, user rights, minimization, data minimization, privacy regulations that we have to follow. Now, between data security and data privacy, they intersect at a point, and in between them, where they intersect, now we are using integrated privacy and security approach. And some of the techniques that we use for integrated security and private approach, integrated security and privacy approach is what we placed that down here, right? So privacy by design, meaning that we don't have to, we have to incorporate privacy in everything that we do before we even collect data from our customers. Privacy has to be part of the whole strategy. How we are collecting the data, how we are going to use it, consent we are going to get. It has to be part of what we do in our operations as a company. It doesn't have to be an afterthought. Zero trust. We shouldn't trust anybody, whether inside or outside. We should make sure everybody has to authenticate. They have to, we have to verify that they are who they say they are before we give them access to any type of data. And data assets management, and also audit. And we also look at compliance as well, right? So in between the two, these are some of the strategies that we can use to make sure, on the data security side, we are good. On the data privacy side, we're also doing well, right? So hopefully you are gaining something really from this. Now, for data privacy and data security in this modern era, what are we looking at? We've spoken extensively about, what these two fields are about. Okay, kindly make sure you're muting yourself. Now, in this, moving forward, what are we really looking at, or for both, what should be our focus? So we are developing as a group of people, technology-wise, we are getting more smarter and smarter. Now, most states and most organizations, most countries, they are also coming up with stringent measures when it comes to data privacy, and that we have to, stay in compliance with. For us as security professionals, we don't have to lose sight of either data privacy or data security, right? Wherever you find yourself, if you are working in the data privacy side, you are not excluded from security, right? As a security professional, you can work in data privacy, or you can work in data security, or both, because mostly for most roles, you are doing both, right? So for data privacy, we have to really redefine how our organizations are collecting, processing, and sharing data, and also making sure the whole entire process is transparent, and we are seeking consent, not just, hitting them with a bunch of a whole, book that they are not going to read just for them to click yes. And then when they try to, take us on, we're just going to pull that up and say, hey, you signed this, right? Because at the end of the day, now everything is set, or the system is more biased towards the user and the protection of the user. Although these big companies, they have money to push, but at the end of the day, even the judge who is sitting on this, his data or her data is also at stake. So, everybody has a skin in this. So companies have to, redefine how they do this. And for security, they have to make sure they are strengthening how they are handling security, making sure they are putting in place some of the techniques or strategies like zero trust and others, to make sure, their systems, or what they do in terms of their processes, people, and technology, they are doing it well, and it's more secured, and it's on the right side of security, right? So moving forward, those are some of the things that we can do as security professionals within our company to help our company maintain good data privacy and good security, right? Data security. So modern challenges, some of the challenges that we are going to encounter in data protection in general, the increasing volume and value of data, right? Because of now we have a lot of Internet of Things devices or smart devices, your smartwatch, like I started with, smartwatch, your smart scale, your smart car, your smart everything. And all these, it is collecting, all these systems are collecting data that is being sent to the vendors or the owners of these systems, right? And they are also going to be selling this information, right? So data protection is becoming harder and harder because there is more data that is being collected. That is one aspect of it. The information that is being, pushed out there in terms of data is very huge. Now, also cyber threats, attackers are getting more smarter and smarter. So that also, pushes that limit for data protection. But as defenders, we are also up to the task. Attackers are getting smarter. We also have to get smarter and more innovative. And then balancing privacy with data user utilization, right? Sometimes it's a bit tricky to even balance security with usability. Is a bit tricky. Now, for data privacy, balancing data privacy and also how we use data is also a challenge, right? That companies will have to deal with, right? And with that, overall, how is it going to look like with most of these frameworks or these acts that are being pushed out there? Companies just have to make sure they are constantly staying abreast with new regulations, data privacy regulations that are coming out there. Now, for data security, is the normal, security practices that we use to protect data. But we have different frameworks that specifically target different types of data. Like HIPAA is focusing on, PHI. PCI is focusing on your financials, that is your credit card, debit card information. So what is the future of data protection, which includes data security and data privacy, right? So implementing concepts like zero trust architecture, making sure data protection is by design, not an afterthought. So everything that you are doing in a company, data privacy, data security should be part of the design. We should start that with everything. It should be business as usual. We don't have to wait till after we put in place structures. Now we have to think about, what are we doing for data protection, right? So data protection by design, not an afterthought. This is one way that we can, moving forward in the future, we can make sure we are setting ourselves up for success. For zero trust architecture, also making sure we are not assuming that whoever is on our network or outside our network is good. We make sure that we are going to verify or authenticate everybody before we allow them to have any type of access. Now, using AI and automation in data protection is also very key. This is going to help us. We have to use AI to our advantage, use that to augment what we are doing as security professionals, not the other way around. And we have to be proactive in our data protection overall, right? So in summary or in conclusion, data protection covers your data security, your data privacy, and we have to make sure we are respecting the individuals or consumers that we are getting their information. At the same time, we have that obligation as a company to make sure we are protecting their data, right? So this is where data privacy and data security meets, right? So I am not sure that anybody who joined us today, moving forward, you wouldn't be able to tell me the difference between data privacy and data security, right? So for folks, if you love this present or you've been able to gain something out of this presentation, and if you're looking to switch into security, join our cybersecurity entry-level course, and you are going to be the cybersecurity professional that you want to be in the very near future. Now, to specialize, you can also look into the nature of our PCI DSS program as well. And then also for those who want to jump into working on real-world cybersecurity projects, our GRC internship and workshop starting on the 23rd of November, 23rd of this month. And we are going to take some questions and comments from our community members who join us tonight. Now, any questions for the group or any takes? Or we have some folks, I think there are a couple of folks who are working in data privacy, who went through the internship and, other courses, and they are working in data privacy. I think, can't remember. And I think Naomi is one, but Naomi is always very busy. So I don't think she joined us one or twice to speak about what she's doing. And I think, the name just escaped me. There are 3 or 4 people that, I remember are into this field. They can share some insights on what they are doing on day-to-day basis. Mamus, please go ahead. And then we'll take Frank.
Doctor, I was going to ask, is there update yet on you're taking payment from the VA for training?
No, so we'll keep you posted once that is ready. They are still dragging we are going back and forth with them. So we will let you know once that is ready. That will be a big announcement. We will let you know that way all our veterans on here can take advantage of that. Right. Frank, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Doctor from Lagos. Thanks a lot for this expose. It's well explained and well dissected. But I also have a question. What are the functions of a data protection officer, please?
Okay, so data protection officer depends on the company. You have a variety of things that you are doing. And you do to the point where you cross over to data privacy as well. So from reviewing policies, from if you have to stay in compliance with specific frameworks, you are going to be the point of call, making sure you are. So let's say HIPAA, or let's say maybe PCI or GDPR, right? Everything that has to. Okay, yes. So it's Brian. Yes, Shongo, thank you. Brian was the person I was looking for. So everything that you have to do for that specific framework is going to be you, right? So overall, your role as a data privacy analyst is not very different from a cybersecurity analyst, right? But exactly what you're going to be doing will be dictated by your company, right? Maybe they want you to do certain things. In other companies, you are going to be doing maybe a little bit more. So mostly, that little flavor will change company to company, right? So, but what you are doing is not really far from what you're going to be doing as a security professional. So you are going to be focusing just predominantly on data privacy items.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, you will.
Hello, Mr. Good evening. Hello. Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, please, can I have your phone contact? Hello. Hello, Mr.
I think his full contact is on the website.
Yeah, that will be posted here shortly. So kindly look on the chat. That will be posted. So now let's go through if there are some. Okay, Scott is right. Okay, there are some answers that were given in the chat, and Team Live, a couple of Team Lives on here. We have Nicole from Atlanta. We have Miss Vivian from North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Dr. Arini joining us from Ghana. We have Eliku from Illinois, Andy from Cheetown, if I got that right. Houston. We have Ekinim from Houston, Frank from Lagos, Jennifer from Houston, Vida from New Jersey, and we have AO from Maryland, Andrew from Pittsfield, MA, and George from Ghana. We have Connecticut also in the house, Johnson, Connecticut. Okay, Derek, New Jersey, and some Team Lives, Samuel from Baltimore, Maryland, and more on here. I think like that is about all that was put in there. Now for the contact information that is going to be posted here shortly. If you have any questions in the chat and that wasn't addressed, kindly bring it to our attention and we are going to address that here shortly. And for any questions also on the presentation for tonight, you can kindly also ask your question before we wrap it up. And hopefully, so I hope everybody has, gotten something for your toolbox. Like I always say, you don't just come here just to waste your Friday night, but you come here to learn a lot as a security professional. So the contacts for the courses and everything is going to be posted time now. So you can kindly do a quick review on that and grab it before we wrap up. So any questions for the group before we wrap up for tonight? Everything has been posted in the chat, so kindly go ahead and go through the chat. And we will be, I think we did good time today, 8:36. We didn't go usual 9, but that is good. All right, everyone. I appreciate everybody's time. If there are no questions for the group, have a great and wonderful weekend. And we are going to meet same time next week.
Doctor. Can you please, is it possible you can add me to your WhatsApp group?
The link has been posted in the in the chat, so you can go ahead and use that to join.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Yes. All right, everyone, have a great night. We will meet again next week, same time, with another exciting topic. Have a wonderful weekend and stay safe, stay blessed. We will meet next week.
Cheers. Bye.